although I think that this is a very important forum, but you know, the way things in Malaysia, things change so fast that sometimes you don't know what is happening. Just a few minutes ago, I got a Star News alert from today that says, PAS postpones private members' bill enabling implementation of Hudud law in Kelantan after formation of joint technical committee on the issues. Right. So, I don't think that makes this forum redundant. I'm sure it's still very important to have all these issues out and discussed and debated. So, I welcome all of you here, and I also welcome all our speakers here today for taking the time to come and enlighten us on their opinions on the topic of Hudud. So this first forum is basically on what is Hudud. But obviously there are different definitions since we have 5 people talking on the same subject. There isn't one view on it, but I would like to welcome the 5 speakers that we have here. This is a very heavyweight speaker. By that I mean by their standing and not by their no offense, man. And I'll just briefly introduce them all right now. Our first speaker is YB Hanipa Maidi, who is the Sepang Member of Parliament for PAS. He's been a PAS member since 1987, and he writes a column in Harakah. Also has written in Malaysian Insider and in Malaysia Kini, the Bar Council website, and also in Aliran. He's also written 2 books on Undang-Undang Hudud, Perspektif Perbandingan dan Prima Facie. On my left, not quite the other side of the fence, I suppose, is Dr. Ustad Fatul Bari, who is an Islamic scholar and also a member of the UMNO Youth Exco. He was once the religious advisor for National High Institute Malaysia, IJN, and currently is the CEO of the Scholar Association of Malaysia, or previously known as the Ulama Muda UMNO Secretariat. And he's also on TV. He's the moderator for a local TV show called Hello Malaysia, which is aired on Bernama TV. Another politician, although not an MP currently, is Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad. He's a past party member and formerly MP of Kuala Selangor. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Birmingham and master's from the University of Surrey, and completed his doctorate in toxicology from Imperial College, and currently is the executive director of the PAS Research Centre. On the far right is Dr. Ahmad Farouk Musa, who's chairman and director of the Islamic Renaissance Front, or IRF. He is an academician at Monash University and is also a cardiothoracic surgeon. As an ardent researcher, he has presented his work at prestigious conferences across Asia and Europe. He is actively involved in civil society and the emerging discourse on post-Islamism. And he's also a columnist for Harakah Daily, dyslexia. Also a columnist for Harakah Daily and Malaysia Kini. Was a founding member of Muslim Professionals Forum, is now an active member of the steering committee for PERSE 2.0. I'm sure you all know. And last but not least is my sister, Ms. Zaina Anwar, who is a founding member and former executive director of Sisters in Islam. Currently the director for Musawa, the global movement for equality and justice in the Muslim family. She also writes a monthly column on politics, religion, and women's rights called Sharing the Nation in the Sunday Star, which I'm sure you've seen, and is a former member of the Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, or SAHRAM. Her book, Islamic Revivalism in Malaysia, Dakwah Among the Students, has become standard reference for the study of Islam in Malaysia. So there you have it. We have 5 speakers. I'm going to try and give as much time as possible for the Q&A afterwards. So I'm hoping that each speaker can can present their views within about 10 minutes or so, more or less. And so that we'll spend almost an hour just on their presentations, and after that we'll open it up for Q&A. So I hope that goes well.
Thank you to the moderator and all the speakers, brothers and sisters. I learned that Dr. Ustaz Fatou Bayi going to deliver his speech in Malay, so I don't know whether I actually want to speak in Malay or in Malay. So saya terkawan dengan dia lah, saya boleh kawan Melayu juga. Okay. Anyway, this is not a forum of language, so there's no. So first, I'd like to congratulate MCA for brave enough to organize this intellectual discourse. Of course, intellectual discourse is much better than having a human change to stop MPs from past from traveling and even Okay, I think nobody can dispute that Hudud law is part of divine law. So as a Muslim, I have no option, I have no choice. Once I declare myself as a Muslim, I'm bound by whatever laws imposed upon me, because the word Islam itself means total submission to God's will. It's not only peace as usually understood, but if you read a book by former president of Bosnia, Dr. Elijah, very nice, very good Islam between West and East, I think. In the final chapter of that book, he defined what is Islam. So, Islam is total submission to God's will. So once you declare yourself as a Muslim, you have no choice but to submit to God's will. So, since Islam is considered as a way of life, it encompasses all aspects of human life. So, Hudud falls under Islamic legal system, or more exact, Islamic criminal legal system. So if you are a lawyer, if you have training, you have knowledge on law, actually Hudud is nothing new. It's part of criminal system. We have British legal system, we have common law, we have many legal systems in the world. So Hudud also is part of criminal legal system. The only difference, as far as the Muslim is concerned, we believe that this law derived from God, either in Quran, either from the Quran or the prophetic traditions. Because as far as the Muslim is concerned, the supreme laws, the supreme sources of Islamic law are two: Quran and Hadith. This one is just a general picture of Hudud. So because since Islam is a way of life, Islam cannot abandon any aspect of that life. So if you have because life deals with many things. It's for economy. We deal with family matters, we deal with societal issues, we deal with private and personal issues. So since I have indicated just now that Islam is way of life, so you cannot abandon the criminal aspect of life. Because even without Islam, you also have criminal law. So the only difference for the Muslim, God has prescribed certain laws to regulate the criminal activities of human beings. If you study Islamic criminal law, you can understand that in Hudud laws, it's very difficult for you to convict the accused person. This is because in Islam, as far as Hudud law is concerned, the standard of proof is really high. Because Islam divides the criminal system into three types. First, we call it Hudud, prescribed laws. It means the crimes already mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. Of course, some crimes are only mentioned in the Quran without prescribing the punishment. But basically, when we incorporate Hudud in Kelantan Sharia law, we have chosen 6 offences to be included in Hudud offences. First, theft, robbery, highway robbery, apostasy, drinking wine. And then is azaf, false accusation on adultery. The other one is apostasy. We already stated apostasy. Drinking wine. Adultery, yes, adultery and fornication, zina. But Islam distinguishes between adultery and fornication because the punishment are different. Okay. There are also other crimes, we call it ta'zir, then also qisas, homicide. So ta'zir is very wide. That's why ta'zir, all crimes either mentioned in the Quran or not mentioned in the Quran falls under ta'zir. I mean offenses other than hudud. For instance, corruption. It is a crime under Islamic law, but it's not falling under hudud. The same thing about what do you call it, a traffic offense, whatever. So we have no problem with that. That's why I believe that there's no need for us to even to enact special law on ta'zir because we can adopt from penal code. As far as penal codes are concerned, it falls under ta'zir. Okay? And then we have a qisas. We have also 3 types of murder. We call it homicide, murder with intention. We call it qatlul am, willful murder, where you have to prove mens rea. Same. The principles are the same. You have to prove the actus reus. We have also to prove the mens rea. Then we have also manslaughter. We call it qatlul khata, killing without intention. Same. We have also in penal code. Maybe there are certain differences because in Islam, when it comes to murder, the family of the victim is given a leeway, a given option, either to ask for death penalty or to just forgive the offender, or can also accept, we call it blood money or compensation, we call it diyah. So, when it comes to hudud, the standard of proof is very high. The burden of proof is similar to our present system. That means the prosecution has to prove the case, because as far as the principle of the burden of proof is concerned, Islamic law bears resemblance with the present system. Because the principle man is presumed innocent until proven guilty is also Islamic principle. We call it in Arabic al-aslu bara'atu zimma, al-aslu al-adam, because man is innocent until proven guilty. In fact, we can say that it is maybe because we believe that Islamic law is earlier than the common law. There is no, I think I'm not stretching too far to say that maybe the common law also, what do you call it, borrowed that principle from Islamic law. Then we also have principle of standard of proof. So when it comes to hudud, beyond any shade of doubt, al-yakin. We call it certainty. 1 minute more to explain about hudud. Anyway, okay, I want to abandon that. Now coming to Kelantan. My point is that when Kelantan want to implement hudud, we are exercising our rights according to democratic principle, according to the constitution. Of course, I will expect some of you will say that this hudud law is against the constitution. I'm ready to answer that question, but at this round, I think I don't have time to answer to that question. But I'd like to stress the point that when we implement hudud, we are not going beyond the constitutional framework. Right? We are using democracy. Because we have been advocating hudud for the last 23 years. We have shown to the people, we have, told the people, this is part of our manifesto. I mean, I'm talking about Kelantan. It's up to the people to accept or to reject it. But the people of Kelantan, for the last 23 years, accepted hudud in our manifesto. We don't want to impose it through revolution, as what maybe Pakistan did. In Kelantan, we want to follow the democratic principle. Whatever laws we want to impose to the people in Kelantan, we want to impose it within the territory of Constitution. So I hope people will appreciate that, and people give a chance for the Kelantanese to be governed by the Islamic law, which they have voluntarily, wholeheartedly chosen as part of their laws to deal with crimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, YB Alifa. The next speaker was supposed to be Ustaz Fatul Bari, but he's requested to go last. So we shall now, I think I will now pass it on to Dr. Farouk. Can I ask you to go now? So that we can have different points of view alternately rather than all the same. Yes? Sounds better? Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I guess this is going to be our second bill. The first we had at the Chinese Assembly Hall. But one thing I can assure you that these slides are new slides, and I'm not going to repeat again what I said during the Chinese Assembly Hall. Okay? So you could go back, go to King TV or our IF Liberty TV and have a look at that debate. And this is going to be very new and fresh from our end. Okay? All right. Now let's discuss about this issue. So I won't waste much of the time because time is very limited and I have 25 slides. So I'll go. Probably this is to recapitulate what we had discussed in our first forum. That as YB Hanifa mentioned just now, that he was the raison d'etre of us, right? And his main contention was that it is divine, right? And of course, I argued in the first during the first forum that it wasn't divine, and secondly, it would not reduce the crime rate, right? And I'm not going to repeat that again. Okay, so you can go back and go and have a look at the video of recording of our debate. Now, about this divine thing, I think I have to elaborate a little bit over here because I did not have enough time to elaborate the divinity of these so-called hudud laws in this country. Alright, the obsession of this hudud law stems from the understanding that hudud is divine law in the Quran that is imposed upon believers, like what he said. We have no options, right, but to accept, because based on Mufti, the Muslim Mufti, right, he said about submission. Yeah, okay. That's about submission and so on. Yeah. Many people believe that hudud is a set of qualified law that can be imposed without resorting to human agency, and this is very important. Understand? Because because it seems that the way PAS is putting it to us, and of course maybe probably Amma as well, I've yet to hear what he's going to say, is that as if the Quran or the Hudud laws are like, the Quran is like ICU manuals. Like I have my CICU, the cardiac intensive care unit, we have our manuals, right? If you have cardiac arrhythmia, this is the first line of drugs they use. If you couldn't abort the arrhythmia, this is the second line of drugs. Or this is the third line of drugs. And this is the dose that you have to give. Bolus dose of how many milligrams in how many minutes. Exact details. It is as if it is that. And that is a wrong assumption and wrong understanding of divinity of Hudud laws in the Quran. So what I'm saying to say is that many people believe, because they believe that, it doesn't require any human agency, and what we have to understand is that the Quran only lays some basic foundation. Only basic foundation, not the details of it. Right? When the Quran says that we have to amputate the hand of thieves, right? Did the Quran say the amount that the thief has stolen? No. Right? And I was being informed that, correct me if I'm wrong, that PAS made the minimum amount at $2,000, right? I was told. I don't know whether it's correct or wrong. How did they come to these $2,000? I don't know, right? So it requires human agency, because one Jordanian student informed me that that they believe that it was half a dirham or something like that, and right, half a dinar, 1/4 dinar of a dinar. Yeah. So now 1/4 dinar during 1,400 years ago, how are you going to calculate that 1/4 of a dinar based on the what we call it inflation rate to 2014, right? And to say that it is equivalent to $2,000. Was that really written in the Quran? No. It requires human agency, and that is why I'm saying it's not divine. Alright? So I'm saying to say that, and the implementation is subject to human error and fallibility, and can always be challenged and questioned. Humans are fallible, right? Humans are fallible. We are not infallible. So we cannot say that we can do no wrong. Just because we are executing God's law, then definitely it will be the most correct interpretation of the Quran. And the problem will arise when such laws are deemed sacred and of God's divine will, and any sort of criticism will be deemed as heresy. And that's the problem that we are scared of. Why we are scared? Not only the Muslims, not only the non-Muslims, because we cannot question whatever is being said by the so-called ulama. If they say this A, it must be A. It cannot be A plus or A minus, and definitely it cannot be B. Right? That is a problem. And that is the why we are so scared about all these things. Right? And remember, this is not hypothetical. This is not hypothetical. Don't you ever think that, no, the ulama won't do that. It is not hypothetical. Just go back about 1 or 2 years ago, when Kedah State Assembly and the PAS at that time, right, passed a law, a bill saying that any fatwa by mufti cannot be challenged in the court of law. Fatwa is just an opinion. An opinion cannot be challenged in the court of law. And it was being unanimously. Right? So can you imagine the power of religion? How this power of religion could silence the critics, the Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So it was passed unanimously. Of course, UMNO currently won't be changing that law. They're very happy to have such a law, right? So they can put the Shiites in jails, they can put the Shiites under ISA, they can throw them in prisons, they can do whatever they want. Right? So that is the problem that we are having nowadays. Now, Professor Hashim Kamali, okay, had argued that Hudud in the Quran, Hudud in the Quran is a broad concept. It's neither confined to punishment nor to a legal framework. It provides a comprehensive set of guidelines on moral, legal, and religious things. So whenever the Quran specifies punishments for the offenses, it also makes provisions for repentance and reformation. And this thing was basically, I would say, conveniently omitted in the Kelantan Hudud law. Understand? There is no provision for repentance or reformation. In fact, Kelantan Hudud law says first offender should be cut off his hands. First offender, not a repeat offender. Alright, now what I'm trying to say is that now the real problems of having such laws such as Hudud is that it is presented as mandated by the divine will of God, as I said just now, and this makes such laws immune to any criticism, whereas in actual fact they were merely a product of literal interpretation of certain group of scholars that fail to see the maqasid or the higher intention of such laws in attaining the ideal of justice. Okay? The law of the state, regardless of its origins or basis, belongs to the state. Under this conception, no religious laws can or may be enforced by the state. All laws articulated and applied in the state are thoroughly human and should be treated as such. You have to understand this. Now, okay, and listen to this. This is very important because the CEO of Lawyers for Liberty, Eric Paulson, asked YB Hanifa during the question and answer about Hashim Kamali's book, right? Yeah, no time to reply. Okay, fine. But the thing is that he had written this book many years ago, but until today, not even a single scholar in the past had rebutted his writing, right? Had written another book or an article or anything. Alright, sure. Sorry, I'll be fast. Okay. So clearly, the take-home message from this thing is that it must be understood loud and clear that the eternal message of Islam is justice and equality. Now, I know that I can go through this, but this is going to be very fast. Okay, I'll just touch briefly, okay? Regarding the paper by former Chief Justice about this thing, because this is very important. Because past, without the blink of the eye, when they heard that the Sultan of Brunei is going to implement Hudud, send a delegation straight away to Brunei. Right? Without the blink of the eye. So, I'm trying to say that, now listen, why is this Sultan so passionate about Hudud? Why? Why is he suddenly so passionate? People know about the family's debauchery lifestyle, but why are they so passionate? Listen here, okay? Article 8B provides, 8B clause 1 provides, His Majesty the Sultan and the Young Dipertuan can do no wrong. In Malay language, it is written as Baginda tidak pandai berbuat salah. Tidak pandai berbuat salah. In either his personal or any official capacity. What is that? Ustaz Fatul Bari will agree with me that this is almost similar to what is known as maksum. This Sultan is maksum, claim to be maksum. Alright, now go to 84C clause 1 provides that the remedy of judicial review is and shall not be available in Brunei Darussalam. No judicial review, okay? Now quickly. And clause 3 goes to elaborate that no suit or action may be brought relating to or arising out of any act, decision, grant, revocation or suspension or refusal or omission to do so, any exercise of or refusal or omission to exercise any power, authority or discretion conferred on His Majesty the Sultan and the Young Dipertuan, or any party acting on his behalf or under his authority or in the performance of any public function under the provisions of this constitution or any written law or otherwise. What does that mean? That means that the Sultan is above the law. So no wonder he wanted to implement Hudud. He's above the law. Who cares? And he doesn't care. It's not for him. It's for his subjects. And yet we are so passionate. We send our delegates to go and see him. Oh Sultan, tell us about your Hudud and things like that. So in Malaysia, if the criminal offences under the penal code in our country, okay, were to be made punishable with Hudud and Qisas punishment, that could only be done under a federal law. Alright? And as a federal criminal law, now we have a lawyer with us, it must apply, and the Bar Council President as well, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, because it is a criminal law and not offences relating to the precepts of Islam, as provided by List 2 State List 9 Schedule of the Federal Constitution. So, Muslims and non-Muslims should be subjected to this law. Otherwise, it is contrary to Article 8. It is against our Article 8 of the Federal Constitution regarding equality. Understand? Alright, I'm finishing, okay? A few more steps. Now this is very important because just now we talk about equality, now I want to talk about justice. Because I said there are two fundamentals, okay? Equality and justice. Now look at justice. We don't go far, okay? Because we are in this region, Southeast Asia. So we look at Brunei and then we look at Aceh. So what this Aceh they have implemented Hudud for quite some time. And what did Dr. Fadullah Winwat wrote in Accord, in General Accord 2008, issue number 20. Alright, he taught at Shia Kuala University in Aceh. Alright, he said, conclusion, listen here. The way Sharia is being implemented in Aceh is increasing rather than decreasing injustice. It is increasing injustice and will adversely affect Aceh's intellectual development, its economy, its community, and above all Islam. Now, do you want to implement the same thing over here? To increase injustice? Ask ourselves. The enforcement of Sharia laws, as currently understood and legislated for risk derailing the ideal of the new Aceh as an open society so widely cherished after years of conflict and isolation. The important issues facing Aceh are not women's dress but justice. Yeah? Some Islamists, of course, are very obsessed about how women dress. Equity, honesty, good governance, and care of the environment. It is unfortunate that the Sharia debate has obscured many other important discussions in Aceh and distracted attention away from the issue of how to build a better Aceh after the peace agreement towards issues such as paid scarves for women. Right? Yet the elimination of poverty is a Sharia principle, and poverty afflicts 60% of Aceh population. I'm asking, how many percent of Kelantan population lives in poverty? Right? I did not have time to go and search for the data, but everyone knows that apart from Perlis and East Malaysia, Kelantan is basically the majority are poor. I live there, I know they are poor. So the government's vision of introducing and developing a people-oriented economy and intensifying economic and educational programs to empower poor families would seem to be more in line with the Sharia than what is currently being implemented in its name. So if you want to talk about, about trying to approximate God's justice and equality in this world, the more important thing to do is to fight for social justice. Right? So last slide. Hence, the application of Sharia penalties are almost never applicable in a modern society where inequality is clearly abundant. So Sharia penalties serve as a deterrent with the objective to stir the conscience of the believer to the gravity of the action warranting such a punishment. Thank you very much.
Let me say that I'm trying to give speakers 10 minutes so that they know how to coalesce their points to, make very briefly. I will give some leeway, but not a heck of a lot, so that we have, a lot of time later for questions and answers. So, without further ado, may I now go to Dr. Juki Fili Ahmad?
Thanks, moderator, fellow analysts, YBs, editors, and fellow discerning Malaysian that have sacrificed your Sunday. A very good afternoon and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A word of thanks to MCA for having us here, at least two of us on this platform from once upon a time the fundamentalist party of Malaysia, Islamist Party of Malaysia. But let me just not waste any more time by going. Could I be allowed to stand? As usual, politicians speak. I'm here not to win this debate. I was very sure that when I came, I was really keen to discourse, and have mutually rewarding intellectual exchange. That was my purpose, and I still stand by it. Though whatever that I've heard earlier actually really provoked me to do otherwise. But I'll maintain my cool. Now let me get straight. 10 minutes or 9 minutes 30 seconds now, yeah? Let me get straight to the point. First and foremost, why has PAS suddenly dropped its atomic bomb stuff? And it has in fact divided its nation almost to proponents and detractors. And of course, those sitting on the fence yet to make their decision. It's very unfortunate that we have come this way. And I, incidentally, have written my latest column in Malaysian Insider, the Latin moderator had a chance to introduce me as well as a columnist. Yesterday, I've written my latest in Malaysian Insider and open letter ranting over the great debate. Earlier, I've also columnist to The Age, and that Age writing is when I penned forging a political contest beyond Hudud, way back in August 2012. And that was when, and I knew it wasn't my last, and sure enough, it has come back and even more brilliantly it looked like. Now, let me get straight to the point. Why has PAS done this? Despite winning and getting the, what I call as the nascent and the new Middle Malaysia ground of support. It would be as if ill-conceived, naive, or has fallen into the trap of whatever machinations or decoys of unknown. Now, I am usually presented as the so-called moderate voice of PAS. One has said we have social, the FB putting me as the poster boy of the new moderate PAS that was meant to win more of the middle ground votes. But let me say this, aside from being moderates or otherwise, let me just make it very clear that we stand for the ultimate purpose of the Sharia, and that is justice. Justice for all, and all that is to better the society. We shall not budge from that position. Even though, as for now, we have got to again table this Hudud, and Hudud surely created Pakatan Raya. Now, I'm going to come in a very difficult position because I initially wanted to speak in Malay. I very much wanted to speak in Malay, but let me just do it bilingual or trilingual, if I could. Let me just say this. I have stressed again that we have not suddenly, be an Islamist group or Islamist party that stand for Hudud as the be-all and all of our struggle. Get that straight. Our benevolent state, when we have shifted from the Islamic state to the benevolent state, still stand, and it's still, much. That is still our guiding principle. And that is the reason why we are together in Pakatan Raya and forging the common policy framework. Okay, and that's one. And secondly, and let me also say that we have come to take the challenge. The challenge, said by one of the ministers in Parliament, when PAS is challenged to present a private member's bill, we do not, of course, back out. Would you expect us to back out? Would you expect us to back out? For the fact that we have been always said to have this ordinance or the enactment of 1993 in Kelantan as one that is as only as a political flaw. we shall not. But I understand, and I come, you must understand that we have come from a very difficult position right now. The fact that we are in a way, we are going to make it very clear. This is the reason why I feel that we are not here to win this debate. We are here to engage and to speak in a very civilized way, so that you can understand where we are coming from. Let me just go first to the Article 3 of the Federal Constitution. Thanks for again giving me this MCA. Let me just read this. Perkara 3 ataupun this is in English. Religion of the Federation. Islam is the religion of the Federation, and Islam is the religion of the Federation, but other religions may be practiced in peace and harmony in any part of the Federation. Now let me just get it straight to you. Never for once do I feel that I am stifled until I come to read this provision again. Because Islam, as defined in the Federal Constitution, is the religion of the Federation. Sementara yang lain adalah agama yang bebas diamalkan dengan aman dan damai. Now let me tell you this, all fellow Malaysians, and I implore you, we Muslims suddenly feel ourselves stifled. Kami dihalang, kami berasa sungguh disekat daripada mengamalkan agama kami, because the Penal Code of Islam is a very integral part of the Islamic legal system. Saya berapa kali lah. Kami merasakan bahawa tidak pernah, saya sebagai pribadi, saya tidak pernah merasakan bahawa amalan saya dalam agama terhalang, kecuali ketika saya kembali menziarahi perkara 3 dalam Perlembagaan Persekutuan yang menegaskan bahawa Islam adalah agama persekutuan dan agama-agama lain bebas diamalkan secara aman dan damai di mana bahagian di persekutuan. Namun, while others have been given the right to profess and practice the religion of their choice dengan segala kebebasannya, let me tell you this, that is the Muslim yang hari ini sudah 57 tahun ketika kita merdeka mendapati agama ini dihalang daripada diamalkan kerana of that provision of 1965 Akta Mahkamah Syariah yang menghalang pelaksanaan satu bahagian daripada syariat Islam itu, yakni Islamic Penal Code or the Qanun Jinayah Islam. Now, I'll get to answer the Farouk's exhibition here. Can we get to understand that? Kerana kalau ada sebahagian daripada agama ini dihalang diamalkan, maka Muslims, orang-orang Islam, nyatanya telah dihalang daripada mengamalkan agama mereka. Sementara agama-agama lain bebas secara damai dan aman mengamalkan agama mereka. Now, I will dare say to you, and I challenge Dr. Farouk, sementara apa yang dikatakan sebagai the textual ataupun segala ayat-ayat Allah yang bersangkutan dengan perkara yang fuqaha sudah turunkan dan rumuskan menjadi apa yang disebutkan sebagai the Penal Code ataupun Qanun Jinayah Islamiyah, itu adalah pastinya merupakan satu human intervention untuk merumuskan satu qanun atau law, the Islamic law. However, Dr. Farouk, you shall not deny the fact that the words of Allah, especially dalam 4 perkara yang dirumuskan oleh fuqaha. Pertama, sarikah, theft. Kedua, hirabah, robbery. Ketiga, qazaf, slander. And keempat adalah adultery, zina, adalah secara
jelasnya the words of Allah, ordained by Allah. What he is saying is essentially, perkara yang dimaksudkan sebagai the codification of law, itu tentunya ada campur tangan manusia. Tetapi undang-undang Allah, if I like to say only one verses, allazina yarmuna al-muhsanat thumma lam ya'tu bi arba'ati syuhada fajliduhum 80 jaldah wa la taqbalu syahadatan abada fa ulaika humul fasiqun. That is a verse, the words of Allah as it is stated in the Quran. As for them who slander the righteous and then do not come up with 4 witnesses, cane them 80 jaldah. The crime stated in the Quran, the punishment 80 cane stated in the Quran. And then the few other verses that follow. وَلَا تَقْبَلُوا شَهَادَةً, never take their testimony, and they are among the transgressors. This is certainly the words of Allah. I can give you other verses that stipulated clearly as to the crime that Allah mentioned in the Quran and the punishment, and as well certain aspect of the procedural law. Now what Dr. Farouk is saying is that, and I have no qualms to admit that whenever there is human intervention, man being not infallible, but the words of God is sacrosanct and inviolable. Therefore, I am here, my colleague and I, willing to accept that there could very well be, and we already seen it, and we knew it, and we are already many that are insofar as the Qanun Jinayah Islamiyah. That is as to the ordinance, the Hudud ordinance, or the Bertazir and others. But let it be made very clear and categorically clear that as Muslims, we have no option save to submit. However, PAS being Islamic Democratic Party, give me just 2 minutes PAS being Islamic Democratic Party, we are not going to impose this, nor implement it through backdoor. We will be subjecting all our policies, because we are Democrat, because we are Democratic Party, we will subject it to the mandate of the Rakyat and to the ballot form and to the legislative process. That makes us that makes us an Islamic Democratic Party. But do please and these are the word of Allah. While the ordinance is clearly human intervention, and it's of course not just any human intervention, they are by jurists. Okay? And I can go at length. But let me just say that I really want to talk about the basic structure of the Constitution, the thing, but I'm with me on that one. But let me say this, we are not here to win this debate. We are here to engage and to mutually understand each other. And there's a lot of confusion that that really needs ironing out. And I think given the time, we will be patient, listen to you, and we'll take all this feedback back constructively and positively. I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Zil. It's just that I have 2 more speakers, and then after this there is another session, don't forget. So we can't take all day on just this panel. May I now call on Ms.再娜安华, Director of Musawa.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. I think it's important to try and frame where the discussion should be. I don't think any one of us are saying that these verses prescribing punishments don't exist in the Quran. That's not a debate, it is there in the Quran. I think the big debate and the big question that we as Malaysians should be asking is, in the 21st century, in a country like Malaysia with its constitutional framework, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, a part of the UN system, standing for the UN Security Council, standing for the Human Rights Council of the UN, it wants to be a global player, it leads a global movement of the moderate, all these ambitions that we have as a country, as a society for our future. Where does a law that provides punishment for chopping off hands, feet, crucifixion, stoning to death, where is the place of such a law within this context, within this democratic context, within the modern world, the 21st century, where democracy, human rights, women's rights form the dominant ethical paradigm of this world. So I think that's where the debate should be. And I'm also wondering why it is a non-issue in so many Arab countries. In the countries, you look at the process of constitution building in Tunisia, in Egypt, even the constitution under Morsi and under the Muslim Brotherhood before he was overthrown, in the constitutional amendments to Morocco, Morocco's constitution, that Morocco came under an Islamic party as well, they won the elections. Hudud law was not an issue. Why wasn't it an issue in a country that's, 98% Muslim, led by Islamist parties, led by Islamist ideologues? And so that, so in trying to make our case for the Hudud law, we need to look at not just, this is in the Quran, so therefore as Muslims we have to implement the Hudud law. There are so many wonderful things in the Quran. Why aren't we obsessed about all those other wonderful principles and good deeds and kindness and compassion that God talks about in the Quran? How about just focusing our attention and energy now about getting all those husbands and ex-husbands who are not paying maintenance to their wives and their children? Let's focus on that. Why are we obsessed with being pious Muslims by focusing on implementing the Hudud law and all those forms of punishment that much of the Muslim world ignores as it's not the answer for a crime-free and morally a moral society. And you also know we're not talking about theory. We're talking about evidence. We're talking about the practice of hudud in Saudi Arabia, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Pakistan, and all the documented cases of injustice and abuse and ill treatment of women in all these countries. And who gets persecuted? The political elite of these countries who steal millions, who drink, who have mistresses, who have one-night stands. Have you heard any general or prime minister or minister of any of these countries being caught for hudud? No. Who has been arrested for hudud? The poor, illiterate, women, they are the ones who've been persecuted. Yes, in the end, through the appeal court process, they do get released. But their lives have been destroyed. In these countries, hudud is a non-bailable offense. They sit in jail for years, and lives and families destroyed. So it's, for me, it's, this debate on the hudud law has been going on since 1993. And Sisters in Islam, we've been organizing seminars and talks and writing letters to the editor, and we even have a book on the hudud law. We've been engaged in this debate for over 20 years. It's really tiring. It is unimplementable. What's happened to the hudud law in Nigeria? What's happened to the hudud law in Pakistan? Pakistan was forced to dilute the hudud ordinance because of public outrage of injustice. It's basically unenforceable because, like all of you said, or the Zul and everything, these are man-made laws. So this is the important point. Stop this useless debate. This is divine law. It is not divine law. The source is divine. We are not questioning that, the source. But what we are debating today is not divine law. We're debating man-made law. It is men who sat together in smoke-filled rooms and decided, okay, this is what the Quran says, let's do section 4, section 6, section 46. That was not written by God. That's written by human beings. It is men who sit in parliament and state assemblies that pass this law. And it is men who is going to implement the law. And then when injustice occurs and we speak out and then we're accused of being against God's law. This is the fear. That once this law is in place, it's implemented, and you look at the Islamic family law, the Sharia criminal laws, whenever there's injustice and women are speaking out and organizing to deal with the injustice and against women in particular, we're told that we are against Islam. So why should this be different? We absolutely have no confidence, that the expansion of the Sharia jurisdiction to include the hudud laws is going to bring about justice when we have had the Islamic family law and the Sharia criminal laws for decades, and we have the record of injustice. Not just against women. It applies even though supposedly hudud law doesn't apply to non-Muslims. You look at the recent case in Penang. Halima, Christian, Indonesian. in spite of evidence, they were arrested. So Sisters has been very consistent in taking a position that it is against both the Kelantan and the Terengganu Hudud laws for many, many reasons. Discrimination against women. 3/4 of Malaysians will be disqualified. All Muslim women and all people of other faith. So the selection of juristic opinion codified into law. For example, the Kelantan and the Terengganu Hudud law says that an unmarried woman who is pregnant is guilty of zina. So her pregnancy is evidence of zina. Yeah, and this is not even the dominant, if you want to argue about fiqh, jurisprudence is not even the dominant majority opinion in fiqh. It's a Maliki school, and we're the Shafi'i school. But why do we choose the worst of the fiqh opinions to codify into law? Because pregnancy for the other schools of law is not evidence of zina. For many other reasons, you can please read all these things. I have no time. In the Sisters in Islam website, all our articles on the Hudud in Hashim Kamali's book, But I just want to make the point that, framing how we're going to have this discussion. First of all, we need, we shouldn't use this is emotional blackmail to say that this is divine law, is God's law. It is not. The source is divine. Nobody's questioning that. But the law itself, the Kelantan criminal, law itself, and the Terengganu law itself, that's a man-made law. And there are many research that's been done on the provisions of the law to show, the contradictions with the Quran, and choosing the worst opinion instead of the best opinion to serve the best interest of society. And also, I want to the fears that's been, women's groups, we are part of a global movement. We are in contact with each other. We have all the documented cases of abuse that's happened in Nigeria, in Pakistan, in Sudan. What happens with the Hudud law and all the discrimination against women. And like I said, in Pakistan, in the end, the government had to intervene to dilute the effect of the Hudud law because it became unimplementable. And the whole, for me, if after how many decades of the Islamic family law and the Sharia criminal laws, we still cannot implement those laws in ways that bring confidence to women, certainly, that their rights will be protected and upheld. I absolutely have no confidence that further expansion of the Sharia jurisdiction in this country is going to bring about any justice. And if truly, if you really want to implement the Hudud law, let's do a test run. And I think it should only apply to the cabinet ministers, to the members of parliament, to the state assemblymen, to the military bazaars, and to the royal families. Let's test on them first, because we know they are not going to be people like you and I here. Let's shut that woman up. Let's find, what flaw she has, what bad Muslim she is. Let's go after it. It's going to be victimization and persecution, of those most disempowered. And I really, the issue is, we all agree that sarika, hiraba, zina, kazafa in the Quran. The question is whether these man-made Hudud laws based on the divine source, with all their flaws in substance, procedure, record of enforcement, do they really reflect the intent of God and will serve the objective, the maqasid of Sharia and public interest, maslahah. These are all wonderful Islamic juristic principles that exist in our rich Islamic tradition that can be used to help us decide what is best for society. And there is really more, Dr. Zul himself has said, there is more to Islam than law. There is more to Islamic law than the Hudud law. So why are we obsessed about proving our piety by making Hudud, the most important thing, as if it's the most important thing in this country, when really we should be discussing this afternoon on corruption, on urban poverty, on TPP, on GST, So I'm wondering, is this a means to distract us from what is really important and what really matters in the country? So getting everyone worked up on this, And actually, I really do believe it can't be implemented in Malaysia, So, but we are made to go through this emotional turmoil again and again and again for over 20 years, debating this endlessly. So for me, it's really, it's so important to also get into the public space that there is no consensus on the Hudud law within the Muslim community, among the Islamists, among the Islamic scholars as well. There's no consensus. There are, of course, those who believe that it must be implemented, like some people within PAS and within UMNO. Others who believe that it is dependent on the pre-existence of a just society, Dr. Farouk mentioned that, so that any violations will constitute such an affront that merits such severe punishment. And in fact, the community will support this severe punishment because the society is just, everyone has, equitable rights and services and all that. Then you commit a theft, then it's such an affront that people will support it. But we know that such a just society, where everyone is provided in a fair and equitable manner, in this day and age with our capitalist system, is impossible to achieve. Thus, scholars argue that hudud is really almost never applicable. Yet there are other Islamic scholars who believe that the hudud punishments provided in the Quran were specific and contextual and no longer applicable in contemporary society. And that what is more important is to focus on Islam's universal message of equality, of justice, of compassion, of kindness. And the record of hudud laws in substance and practice in society today has not achieved these Sharia objectives. In fact, the record of hudud laws in implementation has generated fear and revulsion towards Islam and Islamic law. People don't want Islamic law because of the record of injustice that's happened in all these countries where hudud law has been implemented. And it feeds into Islamophobia. So it has really brought Islamic law and Muslim leadership into disrepute. So can I please then ask the political leaders of Barisan Nasional and Pakatan Rakyat to come to that senses and stop putting us, the Rakyat, through this endless shadow play over hudud. Let's focus our time on the issues that matter, that affect us today in our society, corruption. How about the political delineation of constituencies? That's a major issue we'll be focusing on. Instead of having this debate that over a law that Malaysia is not going to adopt. Thank you.
Okay, finally we come to Ustaz Fatou Bari.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala man. Terima kasih Tuan Moderator, penulis, sidang hadirin, tuan-tuan, puan-puan, saudara-saudara, saudari-saudari sekalian. Saya minta di akhir supaya ini mendengar pandangan-pandangan daripada senior, daripada YB, Hanifah, kemudian Dr. Farouk, Dr. Zul dan juga Kak Zainab. Sidang hadirin, tuan-tuan dan puan sekalian, saya kira perbahasan kita begitu luas, pandangan daripada pelbagai perspektif telah kita dengar, daripada yang menyokong kepada yang tidak menyokong. Namun apa yang ingin saya sentuhkan pada petang ini dalam masa 10 minit ini, mungkin tinggal sedikit lagi, 3 perkara asas, tuan-tuan dan puan sekalian. Pertama sekali, isu hudud ini, packaging. Hari ini masyarakat non-Muslim, kalau ditanya tentang hudud, persepsi mereka tentang hudud begitu negatif. Mungkin 2-3 orang ataupun mungkin ada yang mengkaji dan meneliti, seperti saudara Eric sebentar tadi menyatakan dalam ucapan aluannya, meneliti, mengkaji sedikit sebanyak tentang hudud. Tapi umumnya packaging tentang hudud itu dilihat sebagai satu undang-undang yang zalim, undang-undang yang tidak adil, undang-undang yang kejam. Bahkan semasa tahun 2012. Di sini juga Dewan ini juga menyaksikan satu diskusi. Saya juga turut hadir dalam diskusi tersebut sebagai panelis juga. Ada yang berkata bahawasanya sistem ini sistem undang-undang hutan, jungle law. Jadi ini saya lagi tahu di sini tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, ini satu packaging ataupun persepsi yang negatif tentang sistem perundangan Islam. Sebab itu saya tertarik apa yang disebut oleh YB Hanifah Maidin sebentar tadi. Fokus kita sebenarnya kepada satu cabang daripada sistem perundangan Islam. Sistem perundangan Islam itu luas. Sistem perundangan Islam terdiri daripada hudud, juga takzir, juga qisas, juga diyah, yang mana telah diterjemahkan secara umumnya oleh YB sebentar tadi. Bila disebut hudud, apa yang kita faham tentang hudud? Saya minta maaf apa ni saya sebut kepada saudara ketua pemuda pada tahun yang lalu apabila dilihat MCA ada menyebarkan kalender yang menyebut tentangnya bila hudud dilaksanakan tak boleh berjudi, bila hudud dilaksanakan tak boleh keluar lelaki perempuan, bila hudud dilaksanakan tak boleh no foto. Ini persepsi yang negatif tentang hudud. Sedangkan hudud tak menyentuh isu judi. Walaupun dalam Islam di sana pengharaman judi itu ada, tetapi ia tidak termasuk di bawah hudud law. Jadi ini kita perlu penjelaskan sebenarnya. Hudud terkandung dalam beberapa perkara, 4 perkara asas yang disebut dalam Al-Quran dan 2 atau 3 perkara lagi yang disebut di dalam As-Sunnah juga, dalam hadis-hadis Nabi SAW. Cuma saya nak sentuh sikit apa yang Dr. Farouk sebutkan tadi juga. Isu berkenaan dengan implementasi hudud, kekhilafan, scholars, pandangan ulama-ulama Islam, tokoh-tokoh Islam. Sebenarnya ada perkara yang pokok, ada perkara yang cabang. Pensyariatan sistem hudud ini, undang-undang hudud seperti zina, seperti qazaf, seperti mencuri, seperti hiramah, rompakan, itu jelas pensyariatannya. Namun ada beberapa hal yang diperselisih. Contoh saya berikan. Mencuri jelas dalam Al-Quran Allah sebut was-sariqatu was-sariqatu faqta'u aydiyahuma jazaa'an bima kasaba nakalan min Allah. Bagi pencuri lelaki dan pencuri wanita hendaklah dipotong tangannya. Perselisihan di kalangan scholars ini berlaku di mana? Satu, kadar nak potong tangan. Sampai tekak mana nak potong? Kedua, kadar curi itu berapa yang dicuri? Ada disebut dalam hadis Nabi SAW rubu' dinar. Rubu' dinar ini merujuk pada 1/4 daripada dinar emas. Nak kira calculation bagaimana? Ini scholars, ada scholars kita, ulama-ulama kita. Seperti mana dalam bidang kedoktoran juga ada scholars-scholarsnya. Yang mana mereka pun dalam bidang kedoktoran menghormati scholars-scholars mereka, menghormati buku-buku dan tulisan-tulisan mereka. Demikian juga dalam Islam kita ada scholars kita. Demikian dalam Kristian ada scholarsnya. Demikian dalam Buddha ada scholarsnya. Kita tak minta mengatakan bahawa pendirian scholars ini bebas daripada salah dan silap. Tidak. Scholars ada kelemahan, scholars ada kekurangan. Tapi yang paling penting kita faham asasnya ada ataupun tidak dalam Islam. Asasnya ada. Jadi jangan kerana beberapa pendapat-pendapat scholars yang mungkin tak kena dengan jiwa kita, cita rasa kita, menyebabkan akhirnya kita menghentam Islam. Itu tak betul. Itu tak betul. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, seperti mana YB Hanifah Maidin, seperti mana Dr. Zul cakapkan tadi, kami sebagai Muslim juga, Dr. Farouk juga yang dihadapan ini sebagai Muslim, sudah tentu perkara pokok asas Islam seperti mana disebut tadi, walaupun dia bawa perkataan mufti bosnya. Saya bawa perkataan Syekh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahab apabila memberikan ta'rifan Islam. Kata dia, apa itu Islam? Al-Islamu huwa al-istislamu lillahi bitawhid wal-inqiyad lahu bitta'ah wal-bara'atu minasyirki wa ahli. Yang dimaksudkan dengan Islam itu adalah submission, terima suku yang datang daripada Allah Subhanahu wa taala dalam keadaan mengesakan Tuhan tanpa menyentuhkannya dengan sesuatu, dan kemudian berpegang teguh taat atas setiap yang diarah, yang disuruh, yang diperintah, kemudian berlepas diri lari daripada menyekutukan Tuhan dan golongan-golongan yang menyekutukan Tuhan. Itu Islam. Asasnya submission, terima semua. Jadi, tuan-tuan dan puan sekalian, sebab itu bila kita nak berbahas tentang hudud, tolong kita macam ni. Orang-orang non-Muslim, mereka berhak untuk menyatakan pendirian mereka, kami tak setuju dengan hudud. Berhak. Sebagaimana orang Islam juga perlu diberi hak untuk mengatakan kami nak hudud. Itu hak masing-masing. Itu hak masing-masing. Itu nombor satu perkara yang perlu kita ketahui. Jangan bererti bila kita katakan orang non-Muslim berhak untuk katakan kami tak terima hudud, orang Islam tak berhak untuk katakan kami nak hudud. Tak boleh, itu dah tak adil. Itu dah mendekat hak bersuara. Namun perselisihan kita mungkin antara pihak yang nak melaksanakan hudud dengan pihak yang memikirkan di sana ada kekangan. Saya mungkin bersama dengan pihak yang melihat di sana ada beberapa kekangan yang perlu diperhalusi. Contoh kekangan yang ada dari sudut situasi dan persekitaran. Ini saya bagi beberapa contoh. Yang mungkin ada sahabat-sahabat kita ada argument ke atas kekangan-kekangan tersebut. Mungkin di sana ada kekangan berbentuk perlembagaan. Walaupun saya bukan pengamal undang-undang, tapi saya kira melalui pembacaan kita semua umum mengetahuinya. Tentang bagaimana contoh dalam artikel berapa ya, dalam artikel 8 contohnya. Ada menyebut tentang equality dalam perlembagaan contoh. Bila kata equality dalam perlembagaan, jika kita dah laksanakan hudud contohnya di bawah Majlis Syariah Negeri, bila ada berlaku pencurian terdiri daripada 5 orang, 3 orang Islam, 2 orang non-Muslim, adakah kita nak potong tangan 3 orang, 2 orang lagi tak potong tangan? So ini tak menampakkan equality. Contoh saya berikan. Mungkin dari sudut itu boleh diperdebatkan, diperbahaskan kaedah penyelesaiannya. Dan kemudian juga itu berkenaan dengan PKD. So saya tertarik juga yang tak saya masukkan tadi. Seperti tak tahu yang sebutkan tadi, isu di Sudan, isu di Nigeria, isu di contoh yang terlalu tadi sebut di Brunei, berkenaan dengan dalam perlembagaan Brunei, immunity untuk keluarga raja contohnya. Siapa setuju benda ni? Adakah daripada kalangan orang Islam yang memahami Islam setuju perkara ni? Kita nak tengok tentang Islam, jangan tengok ulasan sesuka hati. Kita tengok daripada orang yang memahami Islam, scholars. Walaupun Dr. Farouk kata sekolah perlu dinilai sekolah, ya, saya tak nafikan. Ada pandangan-pandangan scholars. Contoh kalau saya nak kongsikan di sini, tuan-tuan dan puan sekalian, contoh yang saya berikan di sini, pandangan dalam satu scholars yang sangat popular, Ibnu Hazmin Al-Andalusi namanya, yang mana mengharuskan bagi orang yang nak minang, nak masuk minang, nak kahwin, dia nak kena pergi minang dulu, harus baginya melihat seluruh tubuh badan wanita tersebut, kecuali kemaluan depan dan belakang. Siapa nak bagi? Takkan kita nak kata pandangan ini scholars, kita kena terima sebagai scholars. Tak. Dalam isu ni kita letak pandangan dia ke tepi. Kita cari pandangan scholars yang mana bertepatan dengan nas-nas ataupun sumber-sumber wahyu yang dekat makna dengan statement dan kenyataan beliau. Itu contoh saya bagi. Jadi tak boleh kita nak blame sistem perundangan Islam kerana sikap manusia. Soal laksana ataupun tidak dalam konteks negara kita, yang tu bab kedua. Sebab tu kami pendirian pemuda UMNO, saya mewakili pemuda UMNO, pendirian kami adalah memberikan penerangan, penjelasan sebelum kita nak bicara soal implementation. Nak bercakap tentang pelaksanaan, nak laksanakan sini sana. Saya pernah tanya dalam satu majlis kepada masyarakat India yang beragama Hindu, abang, apa yang abang faham tentang hudud? Dia kata hudud itu bahaya, itu potong. Itu persepsi yang dia letak, menunjukkan ketidakfahaman tentang sistem. Bukan senang. Dalam sejarah Islam hanya beberapa kes, tak sampai 10 kes hudud yang dilaksanakan. Atas asas apa? Kenapa perkara tersebut berlaku sedikit saja? Nabi kita hidup 23 tahun, 13 tahun di Mekah, 10 tahun di Madinah. Itu pun implementasi hudud dalam beberapa kes saja. Kerana apa? Kerana kaedah pembuktiannya begitu sukar. So, sebab itu dia ada pilihan dalam Islam, dia ada hudud. Kemudian dia ada takzir. Kalau kita tak dapat, contoh kalau ditangkap pencuri, mana ada 4 orang saksi yang ada, cari mana? Ataupun berzina, adultery contohnya, nak cari 4 orang saksi. Takkan orang tu nak berzina, ustaz datangkan 4 orang saksi, saya nak berzina. Tak masuk akal. Tapi bila ada CCTV, okey, CCTV dalam sistem hudud yang asal tak boleh guna sebagai asas dan bukti, tak boleh guna. Tapi memang ada terbukti bahawasanya dia berzina contohnya. So apa yang perlu dilakukan? Pindahkan daripada hudud kepada takzir. Pembuktian melalui kaedah takzir. Dengan menggunakan DNA ke, dengan menggunakan kamera ke, dengan menggunakan gambar ke, dengan menggunakan video dan hal-hal yang seumpama, cap jari dan sebagainya. Itu luasnya sistem Islam. Bukan tertumpu kepada benda-benda tangkap foto. Come on lah brother. How can you talk like that about Islam? Saya bercakap ni tuan-tuan dan puan, bukan berarti kata jom kita buat besok, tahu? Kita tak nafikan, kita ada masyarakat non-Muslim. Sebab tu saya daripada beberapa tahun apabila saya join politik ni, 4-5 tahun saya bercakap tentang kefahaman, knowledge. Satu lagi saya tertarik dari dalam Islam, hudud yang dilaksanakan di zaman Nabi SAW, satu kes peristiwa. Ada seorang wanita, perempuan daripada Bani Makhzum. Bani Makhzum ni satu kabilah yang popular, satu kabilah yang hebat di kalangan masyarakat Arab Quraisy. Dia ditangkap kerana mencuri. Dibawa dia kepada Nabi Muhammad SAW. Lalu dibincangkan, dia ni nak dipotong tangan atau tidak. Sebab dia ni orang keturunan hebat-hebat. Takkan kita nak potong tangan dia. Maka mereka mula berbincang, kita nak hantar siapa nak bercakap dan berbicara dengan Nabi Muhammad. Mereka kata kita hantar Usamah bin Zaid. Kerana Usamah bin Zaid adalah anak angkat Nabi SAW, orang yang disayangi oleh Muhammad SAW. Bila Usamah pergi bertemu Nabi, Usamah kata, ya Rasulullah, ni ada wanita daripada Bani Makhzum, orang hebat, orang popular, takkanlah kita nak potong tangan dia. Apa kata Nabi? Apa kata Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Qad ahlaka man kana qablakum idza saraqa asy-syarif tarakuhu wa idza saraqa ad-dha'if aqamu 'alaihi al-hadd. Wallahi law anna Fatimah saraqat laqata'tu aydiha. Apa kata Nabi? Telah musnah generasi sebelum kamu apabila mencurinya orang-orang yang mulia, tidak dilaksanakan hukuman had ke atasnya, yakni hukuman hudud. Apabila mencuri, sebaliknya bila mencuri orang yang lemah, orang bawahan, marahin, akan dilaksanakan hukuman had ke atasnya. Demi Allah kata Nabi, kalau anakku Fatimah mencuri, aku akan potong tangannya. Maka sebenarnya di zaman Nabi jelas digambarkan keadilan sistem ini, keadilan hukuman ini. Maka mengapa kita pada hari ini cuba memberikan persepsi dan pandangan yang negatif tentang sistem ini? Soal tak mau buat kerana kekangan, jangan namakan ia penentangan. Itu pun satu hal juga. Kita tak boleh buat kerana beberapa kekangan asas, seperti perlembagaan, seperti constitution kita, seperti elemen jenayah syariah kita, seperti persekitaran kita yang tak balance, masyarakat Islam 60%, bukan Islam 40%. So hal-hal ini, kekangan-kekangan ini jangan dinamakan itu berarti kita menentang. Nah, jadi itu perkara yang kedua, pertama. Okey, so apalah. So saya tunggu dulu di sini, kita sambung.
Thank you, Ustaz. Ingat dah nak habis dah tu, ada lagi. Tapi tak apalah, nanti lepas boleh bagi chance. So, I need some guidance here because because the next session is supposed to start at 5. So, how much time do we have for Q&A? 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, I'm going to now open the. Wait. open the floor for Q&A. Open to the floor for Q&A. May I ask that you keep your comments or questions brief, so that please no more drama from the floor, please. And please give your name and where you come from, and please say who you are directing your question to. So, I don't know the mics. Yes, please.
Good evening. Assalamualaikum. My name is Shahuddin bin Haji Mun from Malay Consultative Council of Malaysia, Majlis Perundingan Melayu Malaysia. I'm NGO, got nothing to do with a political party. My friend just now called me, very senior lawyer. I said I'm coming here, Hudud in Malaysia. He SMS to me and told me everybody outside there, including him, are confusing. When I stand here, I listen to all of you speakers, I myself also confused. No wonder kakak tadi bagi tahu 20 tahun we have been debating about Hudud. And I was surprised Dr. Farouk was a little bit against the implementation plus the condemning the king, the Sultan of Brunei, and this is very unbecoming. But lucky we are close 4 doors here. If you are outside, I don't think you can come to Brunei for insulting the king. Whatever it is, there are pros and cons. I'm very happy with Dr. Fatou Bari and Dr. Zulkifli plus past member of parliament that he more or less have a certain understanding of Hudud.
Yeah.
Tapi isunya sekarang ni, orang politik yang menghancurkan masalah hudud untuk orang-orang Melayu. Bear this in mind. Past UMNO leaders, you are the culprit that doesn't understand that this is the divine law. The Quran and Hadith is very clear that Muslim and Malay must adhere and follow strictly to hudud, no compromise. When you objected, talk about Kelantan criminal enactments of hudud, you are putting up so many shortcomings. But do you realize there is dalam clause terakhir tiap-tiap undang-undang Islam di everywhere dalam Malaysia ini disebut any law section that contravene the Sharia law in accordance to Quran and Hadith is totally void ab initio. So bear that in mind. So in other words, you can go to the court, super court, whatever it is, the law is bad because it's not in accordance to Sharia law. So we can do a lot of amendment. My concern is that MCA has put up 100 young lawyers or whatever super lawyers or that tried to antagonize what Dr. Zulkifli was saying just now, that we are talking about our Malay and Islam. This is our right, this is our religion. We don't go to Buddhist temple to say, hey, apa macam you semayang ni macam no? We don't go to the Christian church and say, hey, why you do this?
Yeah,
we don't do that. So my issue is that please stop and allow us Malay, Melayu dan di bumi ini supaya menyelesaikan masalah hudud ini on our side. Please don't interfere into our affairs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I saw this hand first, sorry.
I have a question for the. Sorry, my name is Ivy Josiah from the Women's Aid Organization. I want to make one point and have a very specific question for, especially for Dr. Zulkifli, past members and the UMNO members who feel strongly about the importance of hudud. The first point I want to make is that whether it's the penal code of hudud, civil society is very clear. Whether it's executions, whether it's capital punishment or corporal punishment, or whether it's hudud, chopping off hands, we're very clear. We do not want those form of punishment. In case anybody says we're being hypocritical, we're very clear about that. My question is this: when I go to court, I will feel that, you know the phrase, I have my day in court. When I go to court, I want to know that I'll be treated equally. But it appears, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when in a hudud system, first of all, women's evidence is considered, secondary. And that I find contrary to the principle of equality and the Constitution recognizes men and women as equal. Then there's another layer. Even people of other faiths are not allowed to give evidence in court because they are not considered equal in that court. So the basic premise is that you're going to have different degrees of equality for human beings within a court system, and how can this then be justice? So I have a very specific question around that. Thank you.
I tell you what, I'm going to take about 3 questions, and then I'll get the panel to reply, and then we'll carry on. As I think that's the way to work. So, okay, Jason.
Sorry, I've been queuing for quite some time.
Yeah, it's not a very good system. Actually, we should have standing mics, and then people can queue. Yes,
Thank you. I'm Jin Park from Penang Institute. Saya tertarik dengan begitu lantangnya Dr. Zulkifli Ustaz memperjuangkan hudud untuk Muslim. Saya rasa pasti itu diguna pakai untuk semua, tak kira raja ataupun rakyat. Maka saya nak tanya, bagi pihak PAS dan juga pemuda UMNO, apakah dalam perbincangan yang akan diadakan dalam jawatan kuasa teknikal antara kerajaan negeri Persekutuan dan Kerajaan Negeri Kelantan juga akan membawa masuk perkara 182, iaitu mahkamah khas untuk raja-raja. Kerana setakat ini mahkamah khas itu akan diketuai oleh hakim daripada mahkamah sivil. Jadi sudah pasti hudud ini tidak akan digunakan pakai untuk raja-raja kita. Jadi apakah, saya nak tanya juga daripada PAS, apakah hudud ini telah mendapat kerestuan daripada Durian Maha Mulia Sultan Kelantan supaya perkara 182 dan 183 juga akan dipindahkan. Tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, saya rasa kalau kita nak adakan satu undang-undang ini, ia seharusnya untuk semua. Betul tak?
Betul. Okay.
Terima kasih.
Alright, thank you. Satu lagi soalan. Pendek, kalau boleh. And then kita semua orang reply dulu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Saya nak bawa tuan-tuan kepada satu realiti.
Tolong bagi nama.
Saya Ahmad Haji Hasan, Ketua Ma'had Pemikiran Islam dan Dasar di Puchong. Saya merasakan bahawa tujuan kita datang ke majlis yang besar ini, yang diwujudkan oleh MCA, sahabat kita MCA, adalah untuk mendengar penerangan orang-orang Islam tentang hudud, tentang bagaimanakah hudud itu telah pun disebut dalam Al-Quranul Karim. Hudud itu dijelaskan dalam hadis Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Hudud itu dibahas oleh ulama-ulama Islam, dan bagaimana kita perlu mendedahkan realiti Islam ini kepada orang-orang bukan Islam. Itulah MCA buat. Nak tahu hudud itu apa? Maka sebab itu tidak sepatutnya orang-orang Islam yang ada di atas itu, yang berpanel pada hari ini, bertelagah pandangan tentang Islam, tentang hudud. Mana mungkin orang-orang Islam seperti mana yang disebut oleh Fadilatul Syekh Al-Ustaz Fathul Bari menyebut satu kenyataan yang cukup hebat oleh seorang reformis Islam yang disebut Mujaddid Islam Kurun yang ke-12, iaitu Syekh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, yang membawa satu sekolah besar dalam pemikiran Al-Wahhabiyah, menyatakan bahawa Islam itu adalah al-istislam, menyerah, serah terus. Maka sebab itu perbalahan di antara pertelagahan pandangan di antara umat Islam di atas itu memberi satu gambaran yang buruk kepada orang-orang bukan Islam di sini untuk nak faham Islam. Inilah jenayah dalam pemikiran Islam. Sebetulnya umat Islam yang kita nak bincang jenayah, kita buat jenayah.
Cik Ali ada soalan?
Soalan saya ialah, kenapakah pena-pena yang membahas tentang isu Islam bertelagah di antara pemikiran mereka?
Sebab manusia ada macam-macam.
Okey. Kenapakah bertelagah di antara dan akhirnya bagaimana mungkin suatu tabligh kenyataan yang besar ini tentang Islam boleh dipahami oleh orang-orang bukan Islam?
Okey.
Jadi akhirnya saya nak nyatakan di sini bahawa bergeraklah untuk Islam dan berfikirlah bagaimana nak Islamkan orang-orang yang bukan Islam. Siapa yang Islam?
Okay, can I leave it to the panel to reply? I'll come back to you. It's not that it's over. Yeah, I'll come back to you. So I hope the answers will also be short, which will.
For the last speaker, the additional speaker. Actually, this is forum. When forum, we are marketing different ideas, different opinions. So it's part of Islamic teaching also. We have to tolerate, and we have to show tolerance. We want to opinion against Islam. It's okay because after all, this is democracy. This is also part of Islamic teaching. So just because I maybe have different opinion with Dr. Farouk, with the Zainah, doesn't mean we have to hate and we should make a judgment against them. No, I have to state clearly that I resist that. I think the Muslim shouldn't make any judgment on anybody. Because this forum, we want to listen to different opinions. Okay, then at the end of the day, we will decide who's really right, who's really wrong. That should be the underlying philosophy in any forum. So coming back to the questions, there's many. Actually, I don't know. MCA, please, if you have a forum like this, please have a proper format. At least we have a second rebuttal point like we did in the Chinese Assembly Hall. Then, because so many things have been advocated, but we have no time to reply. Because I need to reply what Dr. Farouk has stated. I also need to reply what.
I'll give you the time at the end.
Okay.
I'll do a roundup at the end. But meanwhile, could you please just answer the floor questions?
Okay. The question of maybe I just pick one or two. Question by my brothers Wong Kiwat. He said about whether we want to have a special court to try anybody. Actually, ideally speaking, Islam transcends to all. Islamic law should be equal. That's why the Prophet's hadith, among other things, said that لو كان فاطمة بنت محمد سرقت لقد غنى. Even if my beloved daughters commit a theft, I'm going to impose a punishment. That's the principle of equality in Islam. But the problem is, in Malaysia, we have constitution which discriminates. Not only discriminates between the people and those in power. Even we discriminate the political party. When Kelantan was in power, when Terengganu was in power, ruled by fast, suddenly royalty become Waisan. This part also discrimination. Discrimination applies not only Islamic law, it applies to constitutional law.
Does that come from the Constitution? Just to keep you...
Definitely against Constitution. In the Constitution we have capitation grant. You have to give in the Constitution there is explicit provision. Every state is entitled to capitation grant.
But when we keep to the topic, please.
No. I'm going to say, I am saying that this is the law of the country. In reality, we don't have equality. So, if you say that why the law doesn't apply to the king. Why the hudud law doesn't apply to the king? You don't blame us for having such a law, because the problem is the constitution. Unless you're ready to amend the constitution, we're okay. Let us implement it against all the cross sections.
Sorry, brother. I think you misunderstood my question. My question is, will pass move to amend Article 182?
Okay. The problem is, if we want to implement hudud, you already make a noise. Just maybe if we make an amendment to 182. Of course, that's why it's very difficult, because we are operating within the framework of the Constitution. That's why I say, sorry, is there any interference from that?
No.
Okay. It's time, I don't know. I need 1 hour to explain. That's joking. Okay. I just like to respond what I think. You don't blame the politicians here. Of course, maybe we have similarities. Because this is, as far as the hudud law is concerned, where either UMNO speak or the past speakers speak, we speak from the same source, Quran. That's why I was wondering when UMNO people say that we don't want hudud UMNO, we don't want hudud pass. I challenge the people from UMNO. Let come with hudud UMNO. If you want to implement the law on adultery, what Quranic verses are you going to use? If PAS use azan wa zani fajidu kula wahidin minhuma mi'ata jaldah, what verse are you going to say? Are you saying that we are going to say qawwa wahad? This is not a Quranic verse on hudud. So that's why minta maaf kepada Ustaz. Sebenarnya when you say, I have to rebut also to his point, he said that apa dia kata sebenarnya kita bukan tak laksana hudud. You say it's not proper, it's not the right time. But it's only his opinion, and not his boss, not his party. His party have made many speech, even wrote letter to Kelantan government. If you implement hudud, we are going to take action against you. So I hope after this, just take a form of PAS, join PAS. It's much easier for you to speak about hudud.
Okay, there was a question from Ivy. About equality of women and non-Muslims. Would you like to answer that, Dr. Zul?
Ivy's question on equality. Let me be honest about this. Insofar as the source on the crime of adultery, I think it's only in adultery where women, testimony is not. That is Quranic, and I don't argue with that. Only the case of adultery. Yeah. So in that sense, I think because other crimes. Okay. I would allow others to mungkin talk about it. But my contention earlier is on the issue of what was it? You have derailed me a bit. There was another question. Was it? Yang itu apa? Yang itu Ustaz, kita izinkan Ustaz Fatul Bari menerangkan perkara itu karena saya yakin beliau lebih layak untuk menerangkan perkara itu, walaupun saya perlu sebutkan. Yes, on the issue of justice, I think I would like to respond to Zaina's contention earlier. Dikatakan bahawa pelaksanaan hudud tidak dapat dilaksanakan kerana ia akan membawa lebih lagi kezaliman. Ini perkara yang sangat, I think this is very contentious, and yang jelas ni bagi kami dalam orang Islam, kerana kita perlu melaksanakan hudud ini sebagai sebagai cabang daripada undang-undang Islam, adalah kerana
kepentingan yang Allah Ta'ala sebutkan sebagai nakalam minallah. It is not just about punishment. It is about the entire education. Adalah sekaligus merupakan satu pendidikan, pembersihan, pemurnian masyarakat. Jadi jangan ditolak persoalan hudud ini kerana hari ini ya, saya ingin sebutkan bahawa terlalu banyak yang disebutkan oleh Puan Zainal earlier yang pada saya adalah sekadar untuk mencetuskan rasa curiga pada pelaksanaan hudud. I think it's not fair at all. Your argument mengatakan bahawa ya, cases we can debate on that. All the cases that I've gone through, ya, apa yang disebutkan in case the Pakistani cases yang disebutkan oleh the former judge of Federal Sharia Court in Syekh Muhammad Taqi Usmani secara jelas, ya. Dan ini adalah yang saya paling takut adalah kita menolak hudud kerana dakwaan berlakunya kezaliman dan kita sebutkan kezaliman itu khususnya kepada wanita. Dan ketika saya meneliti apa yang disebutkan oleh Syekh Taqi Usmani, saya mendapati sebagai contoh di Pakistan, ya, dalam pelaksanaan persalahan hudud, ya, tidak ada cases, ya, and this is mentioned here from 79 to at least until this article is produced in 2006. Tidak ada ataupun sabitan kesalahan atas kesalahan jenayah hudud. Segalanya ataupun sebagian besar, maka semuanya ada jatuh kepada ta'zir. Seperti mana yang saya sebutkan disebutkan, because the burden of proof is just not beyond doubt, but beyond shadow of doubt. Dari segi itu, maka akhirnya ia tidak dihukum melalui hukuman hudud atau hukum had. Satu. Keduanya, ya, yang lebih penting daripada itu adalah when we are faced, negara kita yang berdepan dengan masalah jenayah yang begini dahsyat, kami berkeyakinan hudud bukannya segala-galanya betul, tetapi berkeyakinan dengan perkara yang dikatakan nakalam minallah, aspek of deterrence, gerunnya, haibahnya, the ability untuk atau kebolehan untuk menakutkan, because hudud, as I have stated earlier, hudud ini adalah bukan untuk, hudud is not to scare the good citizen, but to curb the filthy, blood-sucking criminals eyeing to injure you, your property and your family. Itu perkara yang menjadi tanggungjawab dan maksud dari pelaksanaan hudud. It is not meant to cause fear of those yang tidak melakukan kesalahan dan jenayah, tetapi meletakkan gerun dalam diri mereka yang merupakan penjenayah tegar. Yeah. And you know, just like the Muslim will be benefiting from this, just like Islamic banking and finance, semua Islam dan bukan Islam juga akan mendapat manfaat daripada pelaksanaan ini. Ini hanya satu aspek qanun jenayah dan Islamic law itu sendiri. Terima kasih.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Dr. Zul that, you know, in the end, all those cases in Pakistan, it went to the Federal Sharia Appeal Court, and the cases were all dismissed. But my point is, why are women's lives being destroyed? No, yeah, at the end, you know, if anything is against the Quran and not, you have your day in court. But in the meantime, these women languish in jail for years, yeah, because the hudud offense is a non-bailable offense. So all that injustices, you know, that and the suffering that women have to go through in Nigeria, and in the end, through appeal, none of these punishments, you know, were executed because the women were released through appeal process, but their lives have been destroyed in the process. Okay, I just want to make 3 very short points. You know, the Malay Muslims, you know, there's this assumption that all Muslims and all Malays are the same, think the same. This is not true. Yeah, there are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. We do not think the same way. Not every single one, you know, of these Muslims want the hudud law. So there's diversity. There are differences among us as to what we think is in the best interest of society and where we think we want our society and our country to go to. Second, I want to respond to the point that don't interfere with Muslim affairs. You non-Muslims don't interfere with Muslim affairs. I think there's a difference, you know, between why the Chinese and the non-Muslims are speaking out on these issues. Because Islam is a source of law and public policy in this country. Buddhism, there's no Buddhist law, there's no Christian law, there's no Hindu laws, but there are Islamic laws, and they affect all citizens, Muslims or non-Muslims. So every citizen, for me, I have a right to debate. This is public law, this is public policy. And if you want public law and public policy to make sense and to bring justice, it has to be open to public debate. We're not discussing about whether this is in the Quran or not in the Quran. We're talking about public law and public policy that's codified, enacted, implemented by human beings, fallible human beings. And this whole issue, like, we as Muslims must all submit to God. I submit to God, but I do not submit to laws that have been enacted, codified, and implemented by men that bring injustice. I do not submit to that. So let's not confuse between what is divine and what is the Quran and what is God and what is truly made and understood by fallible human beings. We are talking about the impact of man-made laws on us, the citizens of this country.
Okey, bismillah. Ringkas saja apa yang disebut oleh saudara tadi tentang implementation UMNO dengan PAS dalam isu jawatan kuasa teknikal. Okey, saya respon sekali dengan YB Hanifah Maidin sebutkan tadi. Kita tak nafikan bahawasanya kepimpinan UMNO sebelum ini ada pelbagai pendirian tentang Hudud. Pendirian mereka, MP-nya kau ni cakap macam ni, kau ni cakap macam ni, kau ni cakap pelbagai pandangan. Boleh buka balik, boleh Google benda tu. Okay? Cuma yang saya nak sebutkan di sini, saya nak respon surat yang Tun Mahathir, ayahanda kepada moderator kita. Moderator pun sokong baik. Ketika mana hantar kepada kerajaan Negeri Kelantan, YB Hanifah quote statement ataupun kenyataan yang terakhir, iaitu sekiranya dilaksanakan juga akan ada tindakan daripada kerajaan persekutuan. Saya kira lebih adil sekiranya surat itu dibaca secara keseluruhan. Surat itu bukan menunjukkan satu tentangan, halangan, penolakan, tak. Sebab poin pertama yang beliau sebut di sini, poin pertama, saya baca satu-satu cukup kepada semua, melainkan Datin berikan ruangan kepada saya sebab ini surat ayahanda. Okey. Poin pertama, jalan yang diambil oleh kerajaan pusat ini adalah juga berpandukan kepada kaedah yang terdapat dalam sistem pemerintahan Islam, iaitu dia bagi terjemahan di sini, saya baca teks asal yang disebut oleh Al-Imam Syatibi, seorang scholars, tasarrufur ra'i 'ala ra'iyyati manutun bil maslahah. Tindakan pemerintah adalah sentiasa bergantung kepada kepentingan umum. Maknanya pemerintah nak buat sesuatu tindakan, nak buat sesuatu perundangan, enactment, perlu jaga kepentingan umum. Jadi kepentingan umum dalam konteks negara kita multi-racial. Okey, apa? Bagi hadir dulu. Penguatkuasaan kanun jenayah yang digubal oleh kerajaan PAS di Kelantan menurut kajian, menurut kajian itu dia maksud ini, sehingga setakat ini tidak menampakkan dan tidak meyakinkan pakar-pakar perundangan Islam yang tidak mempunyai sebarang kepentingan politik bahawa ia selari dengan ajaran agama Islam. Yang ini seperti mana yang disebut oleh beberapa poin sebenarnya merujuk kepada Profesor Hashim Kamali, Profesor Ahmad Ibrahim, yang melihat di sana ada beberapa kekangan. Contoh ketidakadilan yang boleh berikan di sini bukan ketidakadilan hukum Islam, tak. Ketidakadilan contoh diberikan di sini apabila nak dikuatkuasakan ke atas orang Islam sahaja. Dibimbangi berlaku apa isu yang berlaku, dia bagi pada poin yang saya bagi sikit saja. Poin yang keempat dalam kurungan 1. Poin yang keempat dalam kurungan 1, dia kata di sini, dakwaan bahawa undang-undang ini akan dikuatkuasakan hanya di kalangan orang Islam sahaja dan tak diguna pakai untuk orang bukan Islam akan menyebabkan ketidakadilan dan kezaliman yang ketara berlaku. Memang benar, di zaman Nabi orang Yahudi bisa dihukum di bawah undang-undang yang berada dalam kitab Taurat. Yahudi juga dihukum zaman Nabi SAW. Justru kalau sekiranya, maksud di sini, dia panjang baca di sini, tapi yang dimaksudkan di sini undang-undang PAS ataupun enactment Hudud yang dicadangkan oleh PAS, apabila terfokus, tertumpu kepada orang Islam sahaja, akan menyebabkan ketidakadilan yang berlaku. Sebab kalau ditangkap, contoh dibagi di sini, kalau mencuri contohnya 5 orang, dia tak sebut di sini mencuri, tapi terjemahkan di sini 5 orang mencuri, saya sebutkan tadi 3 orang Islam, 2 orang bukan Islam, takkan 3 orang saja kena potong tangan, lagi 2 orang. Di sini yang disebut sebagai ketidakadilan. So saya nak respon tadi buat biar informalin, disebutkan tadi bahawasanya pelbagai pandangan pemimpin-pemimpin UMNO yang sebelum ini. So sekarang ni saya kira pemimpin UMNO dah ada kesepakatan dalam isu ini. Seperti mana PAS suatu ketika dahulu dia tak boleh kerjasama dengan non-Muslim, tapi selepas tahun 99 wujud barisan alternatif boleh pula kerjasama dengan non-Muslim. Saya kira itu pandangan baru PAS. Bagus, alhamdulillah. Demikian juga UMNO, pemimpin UMNO sebelum ini dia ada pandangan pelbagai dalam isu itu. Ada kata hudud sekian-sekian dan pelbagainya. Pada hari ini pendirian mereka dalam isu hudud jelas, iaitu tuan-tuan